Hi and welcome and thanks for joining us. Just a reminder that we are recording this and it will be posted on our blog by the end of the week. So speaking of the blog, on the blog, there are a list of instructional videos, and I am going to post the link in the chat so everyone has it. Okay, there it is. One of the videos on the blog that I want to talk about is the login screen video. And one thing that this video provides is the procedure for submitting a request for a new user account or an edited user account. Just a couple of FYIs, only supervisors and program managers can request updates, edits, or new user access, and no one can request their own edit or their own accounts. We have gotten a few tickets with people like requesting their own upgrades or even their own user accounts, and we can't do that. So, I also want to share my screen just for a second because not only did I just post the link to the blog, but it is also on the MIS, and I just want to share, whoops, not that one. Oh, where are you? Okay. On the MIS, this is what the blog looks like, by the way, but on the MIS, under Help and Docs, under MIS training webinars, and does everybody see that? Yes? You can click right here and it will bring you right to the blog, right to the instructional videos, okay? So just want to let everyone know you don't have to get off the MIS in order to see the videos, okay? Also, every single MIS has these need help with this page type of thing. And if you click on it, it's going to give you links to a video that's related to the page, or even just like helpful hints to help you navigate things, okay? And I just want to stop sharing my screen, stop sharing, okay. Anybody have any questions about that? Okie dokie, on with the show. Also on the MIS, there is a duplicate remover available under settings. And I'm going to share my screen again, sorry. Let's just see. And it's under settings. And it is called remove duplicates. And these are all of the things that you can remove duplicates for, like referral sources, referral agencies, medical providers, medical facilities, trainers, birthing facilities. FYI, we don't really remove the duplicates here. We kind of merge them together. And the reason for the merge is because any of the case information that has been attached to one of these resources will not be lost if we merge it. But when you look at your referral information, you're not going to see like 5, ABC medical clinics. They're all going to be merged into one. To help you guys to navigate this little duplicate remover screen, I am actually in the process of finishing a video, and that will be posted on the blog. Okie dokie. Any questions on that? Okay, great. So next up on my list is service plans. We get a lot of tickets about service plans. So I kind of want to open the floodgates here, and I want you guys to talk about service plans. I want you to just bring everything, all your frustrations, all your confusions, and your questions about service plans. Just a reminder that this is a technical meeting and it's not a policy meeting, so we can't be addressing any like policy issues regarding service plans. But I mean, talk to all of my MIS support team about what's going on with service plans. The reason for this is because somewhere in the universe, someone else out there cares about your frustrations with the service plans, and we are trying to make it better for you. So I'm opening up the floor, bring on all your service plan stuff.
Okay, this is Jane from Nebraska, and I would love to have like the positive and the negative, like childhood experiences, and with the, partner relationship, I would love to have those captured in like a single view, just because then that way you're viewing like the strengths and the areas for growth, or, all together. It just seems like unifying those might be good.
Okay, so I will write that one down and we will bring it to our team. Thanks, Jane. Come on, you guys, I know you got them. I know you got the service plan stuff.
I'm not afraid to ask. So, I think there was an attempt to address this a little bit, but I'll just ask anyway. Opening every single box to see where something's written. I know that you put a checkbox to see it needs review, but if you are following up in supervisions with the worker as a supervisor, finding out, like opening every single box to see where you indicated something takes time and also your attention away from the worker that you're trying to supervise. Because for every family that you've created a service plan, like last week at supervision, starting again this week at supervision is very challenging to find the new things that you put down last week to make sure you follow up on. I don't know if that makes sense. I see a lot of puzzled looks.
It sounds like to me though, you want to know like what's changed from
Right.
from
What's
change
new?
to change.
Right.
Yeah,
That
and
sounds
with
perfect.
text, that's a tough one, but I hear what you're saying. Something like you could almost like highlight things that have been removed and changed. We'll put on our list. That's a tough one, but I hear what you're saying.
Thank you.
I
Great.
kind of want to second. I ditto with that. I mean, the need review button now is very helpful. My staff will do that. I'm a supervisor as well. So my staff, I've asked them when they're updating their service plan to please click that box so that when I go to see what they've updated, I can review that. But if they don't, then again, it would be nice to be able to just have one blank thing that you just like like it'd be one whole form. Yes, you'd have to scroll down, but it wouldn't have to be clicking on each tab.
Great.
I would,
Oh, go
I
ahead.
would like to second. Can you hear me?
Yep.
It's Dee. So I would like to second or third both of what's being said, sort of the concept of sometimes I wish I could just scroll up and down the whole thing. I don't know if it could like have two modes, like one mode is this like separate categories and one mode is just letting me look through the whole thing, because I think sort of the issue that comes up is, maybe you're dealing with mental health under the childhood stressors, because that's where some of this stuff happened. But then you also have it under mental health. And I'm like, okay, where did I document this? Where are we working on it? So it would just help to be able to see the whole thing sometimes.
Yeah, I think like on our report viewer, you can hit the button where it shows all pages at one time, and then you just scroll through it all. So I think something like that is what you're getting at. You can just kind of scroll through and search for something, and you have it all on one page. We'll look
Especially
into
if I
something
could
like
then
that.
document in that zone, if you know
I'm
what I
sorry,
mean.
could you
It would be
repeat that?
especially helpful if I could then document while I'm scrolling through the whole thing.
Oh, I was thinking about more of a viewing mode, but yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
And when you mean document in the service plan itself and edit it?
Yeah, like add to it if somebody said they did this, that, or the other thing.
Right. Okay. So like an editing, yeah, just break off the tabs if possible. Just scroll all the way down and then be able to edit on the fly. Okay. It's something we could look into.
I added the suggestion in the chat, but I thought maybe if we had the option to have those sections collapsible, so we could, have them collapse and then open what we need they could all be opened up, or they can all be collapsed except for one or two, something like that.
Yeah, we can look into something like that if we can pull off the whole idea of making it scrollable, then it'd be easier to have little collapsible sections. You can keep them all open or shut the ones you don't want to see. We'll
These are all
discuss
great
that.
ideas. So there are quite a number of comments or questions in the chat. So Katrina is asking, what does the needs review button do? I feel like Tammy answered that question. Do you still need an explanation, Katrina? Would you like an explanation? The needs review button is just when the FSS is done recording or documenting their text, they click that needs review button and it will kind of let their supervisor know that that service plan or that piece needs to review, right? Correct, guys?
I have a question. This is Quintella. I'm wondering if I understood correctly that once the supervisor is reviewing the notes, are you editing in there as well? Or are you making separate notes to discuss at the next reflective? Because I'm not adding notes in mine. I don't know if I'm missing that piece or not.
That question is for any supervisors out there.
I feel like that's a style thing. I think different sites do it different. I know at my site, we talk about it in supervision and we add what was done during supervision. But I know a lot of sites have the home visitor do it. I feel like that's a program design. Does that answer?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was a tab or something that I was totally overlooking, because I am making notes as I read the service plans. I check them twice a month. So I have dates that I check them. And I don't edit within the document. I discuss and edit with the home visitor. So I was just wanting to make sure that I didn't miss something. Thank you for that.
Yeah, the only time I would maybe edit is if they reviewed it, they put something in there, and then I remember them telling me, oh, I did this or this, then I may just add that note to that for them and just send them a message saying, I remember you sharing with me, and while I was reading over your service plan, I added that note for you, just to be like a helpful and give them credit where their credit is due. Because I think a lot of times they don't give themselves the credit that they deserve.
Yeah, and I do that in another place. So yeah, I thank you for that.
Ruth said that what has worked for me is to use the print function, which allows her to see the whole PDF. So, I mean, although doesn't really help the collapsible part, but until the brilliant programmers work on, that ability to view the whole thing, maybe you guys can use the PDF document to do that. Let's see. Carly says, if this was a wish list, I would love to see a time when the frog and the service plan can be combined. So when documenting the frog, it can automatically transfer to the service plan. I think that's magical. What do you guys think?
I think we need to bring that up with OCFS to see if they would even want that. They have a lot of issues with pre-filling items in. So it would definitely be something up to them if they would be willing to let something like that even happen.
Joe.
I don't even think it's an OCFS thing, Chris. I think the way that HFA designed the service plan by collapsing the risk and the protective factors, we were finding that it was impossible to be able to bring in notes and differentiate them. So that is why the original way that it was designed couldn't work, but I might be remembering incorrectly.
That's good. Thank you.
The only suggestion I could have for that is if when the person is writing up the service plan, I know when I'm doing my vision notes and my risk factors and my strengths, I will literally copy and paste some of the statements that the worker has said and add it to my supervision notes. You know, if they stress that this was a stressor or this was a high risk, then I would kind of just copy that sentence, maybe added a little after, but then it kind of helped me move things and remember to document each area.
In this, at the risk of talking again, I'm sorry. I'm just hearing an idea for in order to do that, have those frog components into a service plan, what if there was a box on the frog form where you could put like 2 lines, mental health or something, mom's mental health, and that could be transferred into the service plan, the first service plan. And because I mean, the whole process of creating the first service plan is supposed to be conversation planning for the family. So you don't want to just put everything in there from the frog, but if the frog, because I guess why I'm saying this is because it's very problematic to have 2 pages open when you're entering your frog information, and then you also have to have the service plan open. It's so much going back and forth when you're writing the same thing. I don't know.
What
Thought
we
that was an
do
idea.
when the supervisor sits with the FRS or the FSS that is completing the service plan for the very first time, we go through each domain and find that strength, find that challenge, and sometimes copy and paste so that we're not losing the story of the family. But that's also done after the second or third visit so that the FSS can compare what she has read in the frog to make sure that it is still something that the family feels is important enough to navigate. And so from there, that creates how we structure our visits because we've taken that information right from the frog into the service plan. And the service plan is our roadmap for our visits. And we use that same verbiage or try to stay very close to it so that we're not projecting anything in or taking anything out. And at the same time, giving the family an opportunity to say, yes, this is something I want to work on or not. And that seems to work initially.
Joe has a comment in the chat. My staff are having a hard time keeping track of who wrote what. So before the service plan was in the MIS, we used the plan in Excel format. So the home visit the home visitor could document their own row and color text. So it was easy to see for the soup to see who, what was added and by who and vice versa. Excel also allowed us to keep things in the same row. For example, a row for risk factor, the plan, and the implementation. It was easy to track, monitor across the row. In the MIS form, we now label the risk factor with a letter. Then the plan for that risk gets the same letter, then the implementation gets that same letter. It's a roundabout way to monitor that. So I get what you're saying, Joe. I think that color coding would be awesome, but I don't know what a programming, like thing that would be. If each home visitor had like a color code or something. Do you guys think that's possible? Chris is
No, I
laughing.
don't think that's possible at this time. It might be another way of thinking about how to know who made a change, but color coding wouldn't be it. I'm assuming what would work for one program would be not working for another program. What if programs have 15 workers, we could have like dark green for one and light green for another. It's gonna be very confusing, but I think if we think about the idea of knowing what's changed from one to the next, if we can figure out a way of pulling that off, and then maybe also specifying who the worker was who entered that data, that might be somewhat helpful. It might not be able to go back all the way through history, but it might be able to let them know this is what's changed, this is who changed it, and then do that on a change by change basis.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened to the original, putting the date. And I see that Tammy is saying there, like using dates to specify, okay, this is what we planned. And so it's on the plan column and then, another date in the implementation column.
And Tammy also put like initials, like the date and the initials of who, so it's kind of a little signature. And I'm not sure, again, I'm asking the programmers to jump through hoops, but I'm not sure if maybe a date stamp and like a username stamp or something could be put next to documentation. How big of a nightmare that would be, I don't know, but that could work though, if we could think about that. Jane also added, I would love if a domain is selected as priority. The domain tab along the left side would change color to draw attention. So would that, that's a good idea.
Doesn't that happen already? Like when you click on priority, it goes bold, and when you go the next time, you see that bolded.
Yes, that's correct.
We don't have colors, but
It already does that. You're right, Kareem.
yeah.
And it shows up in the forms review for the supervisors.
Yeah.
But I guess that maybe it does. I guess maybe it's just that my attention doesn't get drawn to it because looks somewhat similar.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I'm confused. I don't see it as, it's not bolded on mine.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at one. It's
No.
just written as priority down on the bottom of that particular little box.
Yeah. No,
Well,
it doesn't change the display.
it used to, I'm almost certain, but maybe something went along. But I remember that we had, we used to use the priority box. Mind you, HFA dropped that, but we kept it because they asked for then afterwards, what are your priorities? But I thought that was a way. Maybe we can look into it.
thank you.
And Emily added, the dates we will regularly add are the dates of the home visit and not the date of the update to the service plan. So that's interesting. Because
Emily, do you do this so that then you can go back to that home visit and see, what was discussed and updates?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for the plan the plan implemented, we include the home visit date, home visit log date, or if it was a case note or something like that.
Yeah.
But typically the home visit log.
Yeah, from what I heard in the accreditation visits that are happening just now, they want to see, okay, you put in a plan. Where can I find that this plan was discussed with the family? What was decided? What is going on? So they do ask to see that home visit that happened or when it happened and what was discussed during it.
those peer reviewers want a lot.
Corinne, can you say that again? So they want to know, they want
Basi-
detail.
Basically, what they want is a bit more detailed, and for you not to have to write in both places what happens. Basically, you know, when the staff person is filling out the home visit log, they can write in the box whatever was done, whatever was discussed, what resources were used, shared, curriculum, any, you know, in that plan. So you write it on the plan section. This is what we decided to do. And then the implementation part is on the home visit log, what took place during those home visits. So when was that plan discussed? What were the reactions? What was shared with the family? What was, I believe that is how, and what they're looking for. They want to see this like constant, okay, you know, the FSS and the supervisor make a plan, the road, like what Quintella was saying, like the roadmap, you know, like what they're going to do with this family. And then they want to see how that ended up happening. And that happens in the home visit log. So you don't have to write it in both places. You can just like put, as Emily was saying, you can just say, see such and such a home visit. And so they can go back, look at that home visit and see what the discussion was and what took place. Does that answer, May?
Sorry. Yeah, yes, it does. Thank you.
But that's, correct me if I'm wrong, so that would be part of the documentation, but maybe perhaps the MIS could date stamp when that entry was made. So, you know, there would be the home visit date notification done by who's ever updating the service plan. And then maybe the MIS could have a date stamp with a username or something, so we could see who did that. I mean, you know, I think that they're two different things, right? Am I wrong here?
I believe that is what happens when you edit, when you update the home visit, the service plan, correct?
So when you update the service plan, if you're clicking, which I think we should be doing, pre-fill new entry, it does have a date. Maybe there is a way to put the user that like pre-filled the new entry, but the problem with that is there's no, it doesn't distinguish which text in the home visit, which text in the service plan was added or changed or whatever, which I don't know if we necessarily need to know that, but that's just one thing that you won't be able to tell from that.
Mm.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Would it be possible when a person is entering a home visit log to click some type of box within the home visit record that they've just addressed something within the service plan? And then that would jump either to a service plan or something. I don't know where that would jump, but wouldn't it be lovely? It would make it easier for us as supervisors when we're checking notes, because you would know somebody had just touched on a specific service plan issue.
Maybe almost like how when we enter in like the FGP kind of stuff, it's a whole different, this would be a really big thing, but when we enter something for FGPs in the home visit log, we can still access those things on a different view by going to the tab on the case information, but some way to connect the service plan to when they're documenting it in the home visiting log.
I'm thinking what they're thinking. I know when you do when you fill out in the spot that you did a service referral, after you close that home visit log, it will automatically open your service referral log. Is that what you're hoping? That once you click in a certain box and talk about the service plan, it clicks it into the service plan?
That would be one way of doing it. It would be lovely. It would just keep it connected in a way that I'm thinking that the peer reviewers are looking for ultimately.
What do you programmer people think? They're like, is that possible? I just have it like jumping all over the place, because I know that, you know, with like service referrals and things like that, we've had requests like that before, but we can't have the MIS just jumping everywhere, right? Or can we? Maybe.
Yeah, it can't redirect to more than one place after the form is saved. So because there is a redirect in place for the service referral, we can't add a redirect to anywhere else.
Unless we give them a list of all the places that they can redirect and then they choose one. I know, sorry.
I'm just thinking my girls would say, then I have to document it twice. Because you'd have to go into that box to be able to have it refer it to that box. And I know a lot of my girls are like, I'm only writing it one place if I have to write it.
Mhm.
Well, and I agree with that, right? We don't want to write it in two places, but would there be some way of telling the supervisor then that we need to look at the somehow connecting those two pieces, right? So we don't want to write it twice, but we do want to be alerted, oh, she's now working on mom's stressors when she was a little kiddo. Do we always manage to catch that and say it that we did it in the service plan? I know my program doesn't catch it every time. Wouldn't it be
Do
nice if
you
you
have, when you approve your, like, your home visit logs and stuff, do you have that you have to approve their service plan if they add a note to it?
How do you do that?
Under settings, in the same place where, here, let me show. Sorry. You have to have a supervisor role, but it would be form review options and service plan. I'm just gonna check. Service plan, right here. So then you would just click add and your start date and then submit, and then your service plans would show up in the supervisor review. The dashboard.
Okay, I use that differently currently, but I see how that could be done.
Any other service plan frustrations, complaints, wish list things? I'm really glad we talked about this.
Corey, Liana mentions about the needs review button that it shows the red X shows up in the service plan indicating something was updated, and it also shows up in the form review section.
Yeah, I just added that to correct that it doesn't highlight, but it actually only unless the FSS checks off needs review, then the supervisor can be alerted by that red X that shows up in that section that they actually updated.
But that's only if you have the form set to be reviewed and approved under settings where I just showed you. If you don't have that set up, then you're not going to see the red X.
Okay, I thought that was automatic. Okay. Never mind.
Oh, I have one question. So say during the frog, they did not bring up a history of domestic violence or childhood trauma of, you know, growing up in a domestic violence situation. But through the process of the home visitor going in, now this is an added issue, but it wasn't on the original frog. So do you add that as an additional tab, or do you go into that tab about childhood and add it there and just date it, the date that you learned that there was some trauma there or that they are dealing with.
I believe that the way that it should be done is added through the additional source. And so you learned it how in a home visit. So you put the date, you put it how it goes. Now, I see that Joe added there that there's no priority. And maybe that's something that we should look into, because if you learn it, Tammy, during a home visit, you might want to bring this up as a priority for the next couple of visits.
Right, because it's always so confusing, because I have some girls that put it in one way and some will put it in another. And so I'm like, okay, am I nitpicking where they put it as long as it's in there? Or
I believe if you go into the, like the resource, like the handbook or however you do it, I believe it says that it should be added as an additional source under the additional sources. Like you might learn it through, a home visit, the Cheers check-in or whatever, at a different time than what originally. And it makes sense also, the relationship has been established. They feel more confident in opening up with the worker. And so it appeared much later.
So Nancy's saying marking additional source as a priority would be very helpful.
Yeah.
The way we do it, this is Quintella, because the service plan is a living, breathable document, there's updates consistently to it. Yeah. And so they just add on, as long as it's addressed right there in the service plan or sometime overlap with the home visited log or wherever. If it's 3 places, it's 3 places, as long as it can be found. So I don't make a mountain out of a molehill in that regard, as long as it's documented. And then they could say, see this, see the home visit log or, wherever the notes are. Case notes or wherever they are, as long as it can be found.
Yeah, but it just like for best practice, it's better to have it all in one spot, which is why like my view of wanting to see the risk factors and like on the intimate partner support scores and conflict management, to have it all together. It almost feels like if they report that to you, just to put a date in there and put that under the column 2, the risk factors and support, just to have it all in one place instead of having to kind of hunt for things. I don't know.
I just want to backtrack for a minute. I'm really sorry. Healthy Foundations from Montana, they made a comment that I missed, and I apologize. So their comment is, we had a lot of issues with losing work in the text boxes, mostly due to having more than one window open, whether on one's user computer or having 2 people working in the same text box. But I'd encourage some highlighting warning on each page that says only one tab opening. That's, you know what, that is an issue that every program has, because I know that multiple sessions of the MIS are used, and I'm sorry for the sirens that are going down the street right now, but our suggestion is to even if you have to review in a second tab, only document in the first tab, and that way you're able to see those timeout warnings and things like that. I don't know if we ever have anybody working on the same case at the same time in the same text box. I've never actually heard of that before. Chris, is there like a warning on a page, or could we put a warning on a page that says, please only work in one tab at a time or something?
I don't recommend that. So many people like to work in multiple tabs at a time. They like to go back and forth. To sit there and tell them a warning constantly, it's gonna be like, a lot of users are just not gonna like that. They're gonna be like, shut that off. How do I shut that off? I know what I'm doing. I can do it quick. I know I can do it before the timeout, and just dart back and forth. But that is the issue, is that you have a tab open, eventually that tab will show a timeout. And when you time out on that, you might click on a different tab, um, and then not realize that your session's already been timed out. Type data into that text box, hit submit. Um, we did just have a discussion about that, but there doesn't seem to be a perfect solution for a timeout other than, you're going to lose your work. That's pretty much what's going to happen.
Yeah, I
Ben,
mean,
you think anything else into that, or Jay?
Sorry, this is my name's Ashley. I'm with Healthy Foundations. I was the one that typed the comment. I think my suggestion is less that there be like pop-up warning and more that there just be some sort of like bolded something on each page or in the training materials or something so that people know that that's a thing. Because we're trying to train on that. We're trying to say like, hey, be so careful. And if you're typing, you're saving and typing and saving and typing and saving. And we're still running into issues where we have multiple tabs open. We're working together, doing some service planning together, and we just get moving too fast. And having a reminder, not a pop-up, an annoying thing, but just a visual somewhere or something that's included in training that says, hey, if you choose to work in multiple tabs, you risk losing your information if you are, because they'll time out based on the original or whatever it is, right? Just something that trains people that way.
So Ashley, I know, in the supervision form training video, the instructional video, I do address that because it happens a lot during supervisions where you're like working in multiple tabs. But you're right, like possibly when on the other forms that you might want to work in multiple tabs, I could add that, but it is in the supervision video.
Yeah, and a little warning I should put in there also is if you have multiple people editing the same form at the same time, that's potentially very problematic because whoever saves the form last, whatever was on their page is saved. So, for example, if Corey and I are working on the same service plan at the same time, she fills out one section, I'm filling out the other. If I save first, my section will be there. But once Corey saves, if she hasn't reloaded the page with my information and she saves, my information is gone because it wasn't on her page when it was saved. And the last save is what overwrites everything else.
So I'm
we
agreeing.
never recommend having two people work on the same form at the same time.
Yes, I'm agreeing with everything that you're saying and simply just asking that be, included in training or something, because our non-programming staff don't know that. And so they're trying to be efficient in their, mind, and it just creates massive headaches on our side. And I'm working on training it, but it is something that now that they've been doing it for so long, their perspective is, oh, this must be an MIS issue. And I'm like, no, it's not an MIS issue. It's on our end, and we need to, this is a training thing. But just a reminder, and maybe it's just my team and all of the world that's having this issue, but
it's
being
not
able to have the reminder visually that's like, hey, if you're working in more than one tab or more than one people, right, this could be an issue, makes it so that everyone knows about it, regardless of, what specific video they did or didn't watch. Some sort of global, low profile, but very important warning, because man, it happens to us on probably about a weekly basis. And it's user error, and I totally recognize that, but there's nothing worse than watching your team cry over a documentation issue when there are relationships to be working on, right? Like that's really tough.
I mean, as far as like it being a training issue, like the thing that I suggest in the supervision video, which I, once I because you know, the videos are always updated, so when I do an update, I will include this, Ashley. But the thing that I suggest in the video is review the second tab. Always like train yourself to always document in that first tab. You know, so the first tab is the timekeeper. And so that could time out while you're documenting in the second tab, and you're not going to realize that the first session has already timed out. So if you could possibly ask your staff to self-train and view something in the second tab, always document in that first tab. As far as like two people working in the same case at the same time, I would say as the tech support person, I would say that's a big no because of what Ben said. You know, I get it that you're trying to, you know, work efficiently and stuff, but applications are not made for that. The MIS application is not made that way.
Yeah, and I think that Ashley realized that it's just having trouble, you know,
Yeah.
doing the training part, and that makes sense because it
Mhm.
does make sense to open more tabs. I will tell you we can't show a warning if people are using multiple tabs because the tabs don't know about other tabs the person has open, and that's a browser restriction. So we can't bypass that. The system simply can't know. But like Corey was talking about, maybe in the training videos, or maybe just like a general training video of, hey, here are some important things you should know for entering information in the MIS. Like,
That's a
don't do
good
multiple
idea, Ben.
tabs, don't have put more than one person working on the same form at the same time. A general topics video seems like more useful than adding the same information to every single training video, at least to me. And
That's a
then
good
you could use
idea.
that training video in your training to kind of say, hey, refer back to this every time you have a question, that kind of thing.
I also wanted to add a suggestion of mine. Maybe we could have like a small section on the website, not the MAS, the blog, that might have this in writing, as well. Maybe that could also work for these small little tips and tricks, to make your working better, I guess you could say.
That's a good idea too.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ashley. Does anybody have anything else to discuss about the service plan or any other issues that you may have brought to this meeting and it doesn't involve the service plan?
I just had a question to, just going back to the supervisory review form, review by form. So I looked to see which areas like I had already, well, I didn't add, I think it was added before I started. And the service plan was not one of them. But it does show up in my review form. So I'm wondering, because I'm looking at it now and I'm looking at a whole bunch of forms that were added back in 2014. I wasn't even with Healthy Families at that point in time. So I'm guessing like once it's added, it's just there until I don't
Until
know.
somebody puts an end date. Yeah.
Right, until, okay, right, got it, because I did see the start date and end date. So I can just like actually go in and like whatever else I want to add, I just put the start date, and then once I do that, it will show up in my review form anytime someone makes an update to the system. Like well, myself or one of my staff members makes an update. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so when you say put in a start date of today, 8/20/24 for say a home visit log, you'll only get prompted to review home visit logs that happened after that date. So whatever you set that date to will be kind of controlling what you see to review.
Okay. I did not understand that that's how that works. Okay, so Okay, so now I'm confused because I'm actually seeing these things in my review form. Like, let's say if, like I mentioned, the service plan, but it hasn't been added. So how is that possible if it wasn't added, but it is showing up in my review form anytime like someone adds a new service plan or updates the service plan.
What program are you in, Liana?
I'm with Healthy Families Westchester.
Westchester.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take a look at your form review section here. And when you say it shows up in your form review section, do you mean on your dashboard or
On my dashboard?
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There are 2 pages to the approval list, and sometimes if you like use the search box like I did to find the service plan, you know, sometimes they're just not.
So it looks like Westchester has review on as of 9/19/23 for the frog version of the service plan. There are 2 service plan entries in that table. The service plan is the old parent survey version. The service plan frog, and you'll see frog in parentheses next to the name, is the frog version of the service plan. So you
Right.
do have it turned on for the frog version of the service plan.
Okay. Okay. I feel like I might need to ask more questions one-on-one, but yeah.
Leanna, if you want to do that, I don't mind setting up like a Zoom meeting or whatever. We can quickly discuss this. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So if you wouldn't mind submitting a ticket to me, and then we'll just set something up. Okay.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Great. So we only have like 5 minutes left, but Tammy Stewart has asked a question, or says that she has a question about the health and safety checklist. So I want to make sure that she gets her question in.
And this may be a whole new Zoom meeting too. I don't know. We've been trying to be knowledgeable about this new report and making sure that the staff are discussing all these topics. And so I'm just wanting to make sure that I'm correct when I'm saying in the report, it says meeting 1, meeting 2, meeting 4, meeting 1, meeting 2. So that means that worker, whether they're prenatal or postnatal, in the very first and second meeting need to discuss those like 18 topics in order to get credit that they discussed it in the time of manner, right?
The requirements are based on month. So it's within 1 month, within 2 months, within 4 months.
Mm-hmm. Right. So like with the prenatal, they're only going to see him twice in the first month. So there's a list of like 8, 12, I don't know. There's a huge list for the first and second month. So there is, I don't know, we counted it one day because we were trying to find curriculum that would be like one handout that would cover all these topics so that it wasn't like, okay, this is your first visit and we're bringing out this, and this. So that it was like, oh, wow, you're really overwhelming me. So we've been trying to like, okay, as long as you take out information and then deep discuss it in another visit, I think that's, acceptable, but like, I'm still confused on like, how do we have to do it at the first part or the first and after, like, is there separate postnatal and prenatal expectations that is discussed in both?
Let me jump in there, Tammy. I know that the policy committee is reviewing this, and we had, I believe in the last regional meetings, there was a special discussion with program managers regarding how do you see this? What are the challenges? And so we are looking into it. So hold on. Basically, I think as you mentioned, there's tons of things and people are saying it's impossible for us to discuss all of these things.
Mhm.
And so we're setting everybody for failure. So I believe there's going to be a review into this.
Oh, good, because like the one is talking about water safety, tub safety, and you're visiting with a mom that's 13 weeks pregnant, you know,
Yeah.
and they want you to discuss this topic. So it's like, okay, that would be maybe something we would talk about when we're getting ready
Once the
for
baby is
you know,
here, yeah. Mhm.
yeah, or you know, like right before sponge bath, you know, like so it's just so that's good to know. And I was just we were all like talking, are they going to start reviewing this? Is this going to be something that's going to be put into, you know, different things that they're going to look
Yeah.
for? So, okay, so not to sweat it right yet. Just try to work on it.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation.
So
Okay.
Tammy, I don't know if you noticed in the chat, Trina put a suggestion. She said that her team plays a game where the parents draw questions and pictures to learn about health and safety topics, and like many can get discussed in one visit.
I think we have that. That was given out in something. It was little square cards that you could cut up and there's pictures. And you draw a picture, you draw a card with a picture. I think we have that one. Because I actually did make that up for every one of my home visitors to use at a visit. So, but thank you. That
Okay.
is a good idea. I like that one.
All right.
And I'll also just quickly note that there is a difference between the required topics and the recommended topics. So you may just want to look at the report documentation for that. There's a link to the critical health and safety list that actually lists out which are recommended versus required, and things like you said, pool and tub safety are recommended, but obviously that might not make sense for a prenatal family that's significantly prenatal still.
Yeah,
Right.
and Ben, thank you for bringing that up. Under documentation, Tammy, in the report, like when you click on the icon that says documentation, if you go scroll down to the bottom, there's a link to what Ben is saying. And maybe we
Okay.
could copy and paste the link here.
Well, that would be awesome.
But this is available just to New York people though, right? Korean?
Oh,
Sorry.
I believe it's everyone.
Oh, it's
It's
everyone? Okay, great.
It's a BPS standard report. So.
Yeah, and
Oh,
you know
okay.
what? And it is not only that, but it's also like it matches the home visit log. So it
Oh.
makes sense that everybody can see it.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. So we are officially out of time, and I apologize to anybody who didn't get their question answered. If you want, submit a ticket and we can either answer your question in the ticket or we can arrange some kind of a one-on-one Zoom session, okay? Just want to let you know that the next Healthy Families discussion is scheduled for Thursday, September 26th, but I will send everybody an invite as the date gets closer, okay? Thank you, everybody. This was a great meeting. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.